All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Daily Power Parsha. It is great to study Torah with you. We have a lot to talk about. We have a fantastic Torah section to explore. I'm going to share my screen with you. And Torah portion, just to reset everything, Torah portion is Eikev. Today is Wednesday, so we're going to study reading number 4. Reading number 4, Deuteronomy chapter 10. Okay, actually, once again, let's kind of pick it up yesterday in the third reading and get a running start into our discussion today. So we spent some time yesterday kind of reviewing, studying the incident of the golden calf and Moses breaking the tablets. And I explained yesterday how this was the ultimate act of love and care for the Jewish people, in that Moses was putting the people over the law and saying, if you're going to hold the law against the people, then I'm going to literally smash the record of the law so that you can't, so there's no written document or written tablet that has those accusations against the Jewish people. There's another beautiful explanation that we did not explore yesterday that I want to share with you today. You might be familiar with this, you might have heard this before, but I think it's really beautiful, and it has a lot of messaging for us today, which is really what we're trying to do, trying to get make the Torah contemporary and speak to our lives. Take a look at the relevant verse. This one right here, verse 17. Again, Moses is speaking about his experience coming down the mountain after 40 days and 40 nights, no food, no water, only God existing, subsisting in a spiritual, divine way. He comes down the mountain, he sees the golden calf. So what does he do? Take a look at verse 17. We read this yesterday, but I want to share another insight today. So I grasped the 2 tablets, cast them out of my hands, and shattered them before your eyes. And the commentaries ask a very simple question. The question that's asked by the commentaries is, why does Moses say that he grasped the tablets? He was already holding the tablets. Look at verse 15. The 2 tablets of the covenant were on my hands. In other words, he was holding the tablets. 2 verses later, he says, I grasped the tablets and threw them out of my hands and shattered them before your eyes. What's this grasping? This one word, I grasped the tablets, doesn't make any sense. He was already holding the tablets. So why is he grasping the tablets? Look, if the tablets were sitting on a table and Moses gets angry and he decides he's going to break them, so then he'll grasp the tablets, pick them up, and then throw them down. But he's already holding them. What does it mean that he grasped? In the Hebrew, the word is ve'espos. Ve'espos, and I grasped. He already was holding it. This opens up a beautiful explanation. And it goes something like this. When God inscribed the tablets of stone with the 10 Commandments, that constituted the handwriting of God. Right? That constituted the very signature of God's will and wisdom. And as such, the holiness of that inscription, of the carving, right? The inscription, the writing, that itself created a certain, what's the word I'm looking for? Lightness. Light as in the opposite of heavy. The stones, the tablets, in a sense, carried themselves. Why did they carry themselves? Miraculously. Because they were filled with the divine inscription. So filled with divine letters, God's writing, the tablets, which were very heavy. They were massive tablets, big square tablets. So ordinarily they would be very heavy. They were light. They carried themselves due to what was written inside of them. To give you a non-precise example, one of the this is not exactly what I mean to say, but here's just an example to kind of start breaking our minds into this idea, they tell a parable, a story of a father and a son walking down a mountain. And they see a man walking up the mountain, the opposite way. They're walking down, he's walking up. And as they pass by each other, the little boy looks at the man and he sees that he's carrying something that looks very heavy, and he's sweating, he's schwitzing, he's moaning, he's groaning, he's complaining as he's schlepping this thing. So the young boy, in his innocence, asks the man, what's wrong? He's like, what's wrong? I'm carrying such a heavy load, and it's so hard. I have to carry it. These coal or wood or stones, whatever it is, from the bottom of the mountain to the village at the top of the mountain every single day. I have to do it, and it's such a bother. It's terrible. Okay, that was the answer. Anyway, the father and son continue down the mountain, and they pass by another fellow who also seems to be carrying a very heavy load. But this guy is almost running up the mountain with a smile on his face. Now, the little boy just heard from this guy that carrying a heavy load up a mountaintop in the middle of the day is not an easy thing. So he looks at this guy and he thinks, what's his deal? How is he so happy? So he asks him, what's going on? What are you carrying? Why are you so happy? He says, I just discovered a treasure at the bottom of the mountain or somewhere, and I'm carrying the treasure back up to my family. It's a parable. The moral of the story is that, yes, there is objective weight and an objective burden, but along with the objective weight and burden is also a subjective weight and burden that we put on it with our own minds. And when we look at something as being a burden, a bother, terrible, no good, a pain in the neck, then that's what it is. And it hurts. We feel it as painful. But when we view something as a gift, an opportunity, a tremendous occasion, when we look at it like that, it makes carrying the burden that much easier. Does it make the actual weight change? No, still the same amount of pounds being carried on our backs, but it makes the experience easier. Now, not in the same way is what the sages say about the tablets. Having been written and inscribed with God's handiwork, or with God's handwriting, so to speak, so the letters themselves made the tablets carry themselves. And that's why, if you notice in verse 15, there was a very awkward expression. Moses says the 2 tablets of the covenant were on my hands. What does it mean, on my hands? Right? All the editors of the Bible, at least the English, would say, no, on my hands. You don't hold something on your hands, you hold something in your hands. He was holding the tablets, right, in his hands, not on them. But now we know the truth. They were on his hands. They were floating above his hands. He was holding on to them, but they were carrying themselves. They were on his hand. They weren't in his hands. Which explains what happened in verse 17. Verse 17 tells us, as Moses says in his own words, that when he came down the mountain and he saw with his own eyes, he saw the sin, he saw the molten calf, he saw the golden calf, he saw the rebellion and the deviation from the path that God had set out before the people. At that point, our sages tell us, the letters, the spiritual energy of the tablets, flew out of the tablets. And what remained was heavy stone. So heavy that they almost fell on their own. So Moses says, what did I do? So I grasped the 2 tablets, right? Before they were carrying themselves. But now, post-sin, now I know what you're thinking. Well, the sin had happened already before, so why wasn't it heavy from the get-go? When Moses first heads down the mountain, they were already sinning, but it wasn't observed by Moses. We know quantum physics, right? Observation creates a certain reality. So until it's observed by Moses, the tablets have their holiness. The moment Moses observes the sin, now the spiritual energy of the tablets flies out of it, so to speak, and what's left is heavy stone, which are about to fall out of his hands. So he says, I grasped the 2 tablets, and then I threw them down and I broke them before your eyes. That explains the two interesting, unusual phrases here. That number one, initially the tablets were on his hands, on Moses' hands, and number two, that he grasped the tablets and then threw them down, even though it would seem that he was holding them the whole time. No, they were holding themselves, they were carrying themselves, then he had to grasp them. So let's talk about contemporary messages, because it sounds a little bit like supernatural, metaphysical. What does it mean for you and I? There are multiple ways that we can explain this and personalize this. I want to share with you one, maybe two. We'll see how it evolves. On a very simple level, like I said before, with the example of the father and son and the two individuals carrying the heavy load up the mountain, you and I are likely destined to have burdens to carry. But how we look at that is entirely up to us. How we perceive our burden. Is it a burden or is it a wonderful thing? It's like, that's up to us. That's subjective. That's in our heads and in our hearts. No one can tell us how to feel about what we're carrying. What we're carrying, sometimes as we go through life, deposits are made in whatever bag we're carrying over our shoulders. And those deposits are made by God, by life, by others, and by ourselves. But how we feel about that is entirely up to us, and that will determine whether the burden almost carries itself, or if not. Sometimes we can have a perspective on something and not think it's a big deal. Yeah, of course I do this every day. Yeah, I call this person and I check on that person, and I bring food to the other person, and I connect with the other. I do all of these wonderful things, a person might say, and it's not a burden, it's a pleasure. Until something happens. Something might happen, like in this case, Moses sees the sin of the golden calf, and suddenly the whole experience sours. Sometimes in life, something can happen and suddenly your perspective shifts. And what happens is, before it was a pleasure and now it's a burden. Now you don't want to do it anymore. Now there's resentment. You could be doing the same thing as yesterday, but today it feels different. Why? Any number of reasons. And so this is a cautionary tale in life on multiple levels. Number one, we're all carrying something, might as well enjoy it. Number two, you might be enjoying it and something might happen to make you sour on it, to make it feel distasteful, to make it annoying, to make it burdensome. Resist the urge to go down that negative path, because that is a rabbit hole down to living a life of resentment and anger and bitterness, and that's not good for anybody. It's not good for you. You know what they say about resentment? It's like drinking poison and hoping the other person is going to die. Resentment hurts us first and foremost. You're resentful about somebody, what they said, what they did, lack of gratitude, whatever it is. You're not hurting them. You're hurting yourself. Which means that as long as we're carrying the package on our shoulders, let's find a positive approach so that it's that much lighter. Okay, that's number one. That's the opening idea. And that's focused still on yesterday's reading. Now let's segue into reading number 4, which directly follows this idea. Why do I say that? Because in this reading, Moses reports how God told him after the breaking of the tablets, and after God forgives the people, God says, you know what? It's time to make a second set of tablets that you can actually this time deliver to the people and not break. So here's what chapter 10 of Deuteronomy sounds like. At that time, the Lord said to me, Moses, hew for yourself 2 stone tablets like the first ones, and come up to me on the mountain, and make for yourself a wooden ark. And I shall inscribe on the tablets the words that were upon the first tablets which you shattered, and you shall place them into the ark. So what we have here is a description, first-hand description. Moses reporting what happened with the creation of the second tablets. And we have some really important information here. Number one, who carved the tablets? It was Moses. When I say carved, who hewed? Hew? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the right tense of that is. Who hewed? It's a tongue twister. The second tablets, it was Moses. Moses cut the stone from a sapphire deposit. In fact, according to our sages, God said to Moses, take a look under your tent, dig a little, and there he found a sapphire deposit, a sapphire mine that was sitting there the whole time. Whatever. So from that sapphire mine, or deposit, he cut out 2 massive stone tablets, alighted with them up the mountain, and then God took care of the rest. God refers to the inscription of the second tablets as replacing the first ones, which you shattered, right? Which you shattered, which sounds like God reminding Moses of what he did. Like, by the way, we wouldn't need to do this had you gone the right way, had you asked for directions, had you not shattered the tablets, we would have had it. That sounds like Mark always loves talking about the twisting of the knife, right? Right, Mark? How do you describe it?
The grisha.
Yeah. So
the grisha isn't when the knife is stuck in. It's when it's twisted.
That's right. So it's one thing to stick the knife in. That's painful. It's painful enough. Yeah. But then you twist it. So God says, Moses, I need your help. Remember those tablets? We don't have them anymore. So go ahead and make a second set to replace the ones that you broke. Right? That sounds like a twist. But no, our commentaries say something very, very different. The words Asher Shibarta should be understood as Yasher Kochacha, like Yasher Koach, Asher Shibarta, which means good job that you broke it. Not which you shattered in a negative sense, but thank God you shattered it, as we said yesterday, because that was the greatest defense of the Jewish people. Okay, let's continue inside. So Moses reports, again, this is at the end of the 40 years, recollection of what happened back then. So I made an ark of acacia wood, and I hewed 2 stone tablets like the first ones. I ascended the mountain with the 2 tablets in my hand, and then God inscribed in the tablets like the first writing of the 10 Commandments, which the Lord had spoken to you on the mountain from the midst of the fire on the day of the assembly, and the Lord gave them to me. Okay, and I came down the mountain and placed the tablets in the ark which I had made, and there they were, as the Lord had commanded me. Okay, what's interesting is that we know from other verses and from other Jewish writings that the Ark of the Covenant, right, the one that we're referring to here, the Ark of Raiders of the Lost Ark, the Ark, right? The Ark was a box made of gold and wood. Inside were the tablets. But what's interesting is inside inside the Ark, in fact, were both sets of tablets. The whole tablets, number 2, and the broken tablets, number 1. The broken tablets were preserved in a small box. And every time the Jewish people went out to battle, they took the box of the pieces of the of the tablets, and went into battle with them. Not as a reminder of the mistake of the golden calf, but a reminder of the fragility of human beings and the need to rely on God. And that was the ultimate reminder of, don't rely on your own military prowess. It's not about your might, as I mentioned before about the Jewish athletic team, the rowing club. Jews are not going to win any awards typically for that piece of it. Our survival and strength lies completely in our connection with God, and that's what the broken tablets reminded the people of. And that's why I went to battle. Every time when they went into Israel, every time they went out to battle, they took the broken pieces of the tablets with them, and they were placed as well in the ark. Let's continue. So that's a good lesson, I think, regarding the fragility of human beings and our reliance on God. And we have to know where our blessings come from. Next we have a discussion here about what happens next. So Moses recalls the Jewish people journeyed from the wells of Bnei Yaakon to Mosera. There Aaron died and he was buried, and Elazar his son served as Kohen in his stead. More journeys. Talks about the Lord separating the tribe of Levi to bear the Ark of the Covenant, to carry the Ark, to stand before the Lord, to serve Him, and to bless in His name to this day. So this again talks about a theme that we know very well from the book of Leviticus and beyond, which is the role of the Levites. It's in the book of Leviticus, it's in the book of Numbers at the beginning. Now once again Moses repeats it at the end of his life. And therefore, as we know, Levi has no portion or inheritance with his brothers. The Lord is his inheritance, as the Lord your God spoke to him. So the tribe of Levi is really meant to be a spiritual tribe, serving the people, serving God, and not meant to be dabbling in real estate or in Wall Street or, in making shoes or being a tailor. The job of Levi is to spiritual service. Maimonides famously writes that it's not only the biological family of Levi, but any person that dedicates themselves to God and to spirituality can be an honorary Levi. And it's something that we should aspire to. If not our full-time job, at least part-time, a part-time Levi. It's available to everybody if we just dedicate ourselves to that task. And then, as we conclude the fourth reading in today's discussion, Moses says, I remained on the mountain like the first days, 40 days and 40 nights. And the Lord hearkened to me also at that time. And the Lord did not wish to destroy you. And the Lord said to me, arise, go to lead the travels before the people, so that they may come and possess the land I promised their forefathers to give them. So this refers to other iterations of 40 days that Moses spent on the mountain. In fact, we know this, that Moses, from the time that Moses first goes up on the mountain, right after the revelation at Sinai, which we celebrate on the holiday known as Shavuot. So right the next day, Moses goes up the mountain to get the rest of the commandments. Thus begins 40 days and 40 nights. Comes back down, golden calf. Goes back up, comes back down, goes back up for the third time. 3 sets of 40 days and 40 nights, 120 days in total. Final descent when Moses comes back down with the second set of tablets, having received full forgiveness on behalf of the people. That day is the day that we know and love as Yom Kippur. So from the holiday of Shavuot until Yom Kippur, there are exactly 120 days. During that time, Moses did 3 rounds on top of the mountain. The first time to get the Torah, the second time to ask for forgiveness, and the third time to really ask for forgiveness and get the second set of tablets. The moral of the story is there's always hope. There's always a way back. Sometimes we think we dropped something, we broke something, we neglected something, we violated something. There's no hope. As I mentioned to somebody earlier, Ray and I were having a conversation about this. In Judaism, we always believe in the power of redemption. It's always possible. Always possible to do teshuvah, which is return repentance. Even when the Talmud says that if a person does such and such sin, they're not given the opportunity to do teshuvah, the Alter Rebbe and Tanya, the founder of Chabad, writes, the Talmud doesn't say that teshuvah is not accepted from that person, it just says they're not given the opportunity, which means they're not on a silver platter given the inspiration from above to then get back to a good place. But if they fight for it on their own, of course a person is embraced. Even in situations where, doesn't mean, by the way, that there's no such thing as punishments or consequences. There are, but with that, there is a way for a person to at least spiritually undergo a spiritual cleansing. It doesn't mean that everyone does it, but it means that we all can. And that's a measure of hope as well. All right, thank you very much for joining me today for the Daily Power Parsha. If anybody has any questions or comments, I'm available, but first I have to make an announcement in my house. All right, you guys can listen in. This is an announcement for my house. Shalom. Shalom. Hey, are you making food that's burning? That was my announcement.
Oh dear.
No, it's fine. It's not. It's fine? It's just smoking a little bit. It's all good. If it was actually burning, I would not be sitting here. I would be jumping up to save the day. Don't worry.
I'm sure.
Don't worry, it's all good. It actually smells very good. It's a panini. You know a panini? Yeah, little press machine situation. Gourmet chefs going on over here. Okay, any questions, comments, discussion points? Okay. By the way, if you haven't yet checked it out, we haven't yet sent out an email and made it official. But as of yesterday, I don't know, late morning, early afternoon, our new website is up, which is very exciting. So the website is the same address, intownjewishacademy.org, but it's all brand new. So
Cool.
so here's my thank you. It's been a ton of work and a ton of time and a big investment to get this new site up. But here's my request. Whatever. Here's my request. Take a look at the site and let me know what you think. Number one, Number two, let me know if you see anything that could be tweaked or whatever. So Matt texted me earlier today, and said, there's Daily Power Parsha is not up on the site. I'm like, perfect. I totally overlooked that, so I got it up. So now we have, and in fact, when I put it up, I'm like, I don't know, the image. We got to revamp the image. So we're gonna work on getting a new design for that as well. But if you notice anything, if something seems a little wonky or a little this, a little that, let me know. You can call me, text me, email me. I'm open to suggestions. And the goal is to make it very easy to use, very clear, so that you can identify clearly the types of programs that you can sign up and join live, and also to partake in on-demand learning from the archives, both video and audio. So that's really the goal of the site. All right, thank you all. Thank you in advance for perusing the website, and it's great to study together. All right.
Rabbi Ari?
Yes, Stephanie, yes.
That question, so this is just still Chabad.org, IntownChabad.org, is that correct?
No, it's Intown Jewish Academy.org. Intown Jewish Academy.org.
I'll just click links. All right, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Check it out. Let me know what you think.
Yes.
I think you can. I think it's possible to get to our site through the main Chabad in Town site. If you click on like adult education, I think it redirects here. I haven't checked that. I have to make sure that it actually, I think it used to, and I can check it out right now to see if it works. Chabadintown.org. Let's see. If I click on the sidebar tab situation, and I click on adult programming, okay, I get to a page that says Intown Jewish Academy. Yeah, a few things need to be tweaked with the integration. Okay, we're going to work on it. I'm working on it. We're still waiting on our security certificate to come through. Don't worry, the site is secure and the payments are secure. That's already waiting on the SSL certificate. I'm learning a lot of things through this process about website. So my web developer tells me that should be coming in the next little bit. I don't know what has to happen with that, but they're working on it, apparently. All the Fort Knox is working on it. They're figuring it out.
We have class tonight.
Yes, 7:30 p.m. Yes, Torah studies. Look, I have it right next to me. This was my model for the tablets that I was holding up before, the back of Torah studies. But yeah, tonight Torah studies. Oh, the theme is, how do we rank a mitzvah? Like, is there a top 10? Oh, well, there's 10 commandments, but can we rank and weigh and measure mitzvot? Are they all equally good? Is that like something that we make the smaller mitzvot feel better about when we say that all are equal, but we don't really mean it? Like, how does that work? Are mitzvot more important, less important, and how do we prioritize or triage, our time and energies and resources? So join me tonight for that and more at Torah Studies. And by the way, if you're wondering how to join Torah Studies, I happen to know a new website called IntownJewishAcademy.org that has under live study a box for. Let me just double check that that's true. Hold on. Let me just, before I go too far off down the rabbit hole. If you go on live study and you click on Torah Studies, okay, here we go. Let's see. Torah Studies, come on, new, open. And then you scroll down, Zoom link, yes, okay. So that's it. It's accessible. It's there. Easy peasy. Don't log in yet because I won't be there. Oh, hey, Shalom. Hey, no, come here. You can't do that. Shalom, come. Say hi to everybody. This is my 11-year-old. Shalom.
Hi, Shalom.
Come in. You're like all wonky in the screen because you're like nose deep. Here, there you go. Come on. All right. He's our chef, Chef Boyardee.
Cool. All right, quick question.
Yes.
Today is Tu B'Av.
Yes.
Is there anything special in the Parsha for that or not?
No, not in the Parsha. Okay, thank you for reminding me. It's on my mind because in the prayers we omit the confessional prayers because it's a day of celebration. It says in the Talmud that there were no happy days, as happy as, it's a very convoluted way of saying, one of the happiest days of the Jewish calendar was today, the 15th day of Av. It's happy. And the Talmud gives different reasons for the happiness. One thing that happened in ancient times is that the young men and young women, the singles, would go up in the hills and mountaintops of Jerusalem, and there would be a lot of shidduchim, a lot of matches made, a lot of relationships begun on the day of Tu B'Av. It was a day, it's the Jewish Valentine's Day, if you will.
Really?
Jewish, legit. Jewish Day of Love, amongst other things. They also stopped chopping wood for, something about the wood for the altar. They would put the wood out in the summer heat to dry out for the year, for the temple service. They didn't want rotting. You don't want to bring wet wood into the temple and have it sit there. It's gross. So there's something about the wood. They would finish chopping the wood on Tu B'Av, and they would kind of ceremoniously break the axe, like we're done with this type thing. It's also, according to Kabbalah, it's also the 15th day of the Jewish month is always when there's a full moon. It's always every month. That's because the Jewish months go by the lunar cycle. The 15th day, which is the middle of the Jewish month, is always the largest moon, the full moon. And so after the sadness, after the descent, if you will, of Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, when the temples were destroyed and all the negative stuff happened on that, we celebrated last Thursday. So the rebound, when we go through a low period, then when we get out of it, it feels the light is much brighter, having come from a space of darkness. So the joy of the 15th day of the month of Av is a greater joy, represented by the full moon, is a greater full moon, a greater light, because precisely it follows the 9th of Av. And so the message for us in our lives is, there's always a message, right? Is, from the darkest of spaces, we can find the greatest light. So we should never let a dark moment go to waste. We should always find a good rebound. And I don't mean it in a cynical way. I mean in a real way. Let's pick. We're all in a difficult time and challenging time. The light that can come from this is that much greater due to the light, due to the downhill. When you go on a roller coaster, right? The higher it is, the lower it is usually, and the lower it is, the higher you can go back up.
Right.
That's physics. Okay, all right. Good to see everybody. By the way, Kennywood, my place of choice. Kennywood is a park in Pittsburgh, the amusement park in Pittsburgh. In fact, not only is Kennywood the park in Pittsburgh, but in my home, in my kitchen. I'm now taking you on a tour. That's it. By the way, I want to do a program. I'll tell you about the program soon. Look at that. Can you see it? You guys see that? It's a very, very complicated story. I know complicated. It's a very involved story of why in the world it's on my wall. It has to do with the previous owners and a friend and a pun and whatever. But either way, it's up. I was thinking about a program as I'm holding this computer while I'm walking. I was thinking about doing like a Jewish tour of homes, where essentially I would take you on a tour of my home, and we would talk about the different parts of a Jewish home, like a bookshelf, show you favorite Jewish books, and a candle lighting area, a place, what you need to pull that off, and maybe a kitchen, how to pull off a kosher kitchen with flair and ease, how to burn paninis and still have them taste good, right? This is the aforementioned panini machine. Anyway, just a thought that I had at some point during Corona, and we never got to it. But what do you guys think? Is it potential in the idea? Yeah?
Yes.
All right.
Cooking with Rabbi Ari.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know if we would have enough time. Maybe we would. Yeah. How to organize your pantry. Now it could be dangerous. I have no idea what's going to happen there. Yeah. I don't know if it's organized or not. Okay. Anyway, just a thought. Just a thought. I'll do that. Anyway, fine. I'll let you all go. Have a wonderful day, and see you soon. Enjoy the Tu B'Av. All right. Take care, everybody. See ya.